Hey guys, welcome to another tutorial of vROps Operations Manager. I am Apurva. The topics for the video are global settings and licensing. Now these are some easy topics but are very useful to know about. First, let's look at the global settings. Global settings are the settings which control system settings. Settings such as data retention, system timeout related settings come under it. Now, the thing to note over here is that these settings affect all users in your vROps, and that is also why these are called global settings. Global settings help in better monitoring of our environment as you can adjust the values based on your local policies and disk space. Otherwise, you have default values also which are present and are the common retention periods. Also, these settings do not affect object management behaviors such as metric interactions, color indicators, etc. Now, where to find the global settings in vROps? You need to go to the Administration tab and then select Management, and then you will see the option of global settings. Even licensing exists there, but we will talk about licensing later on. What you will see in the Global Settings tab in vROps console is this. Here you can see we have all these settings which come under Global Settings, and for each setting we have a value which is there by default, but we can edit it according to our policies and need. To change the value, click Global Settings. The default values are the common retention periods, and we also have description which gives information about the settings. Now, what all these settings actually are, I'm going to tell you just now. Settings that come under retention settings are as follows, and here are the default values. Action history means the number of days to retain the recent task data for actions, and it has the default value as you can see 90 days. The deleted objects settings is for the retain period of the objects that are deleted from an adapter data source or server before deleting them from vROps. Object history is the number of days to retain the history of the object configuration, relationship, and property, and all this information about the object. Now there is system and alerts. The number of days to retain cancelled alerts and system symptoms once these are deleted. How many days the vROps retains these symptoms and alerts. Then there is time series data. It is the number of months for which you want to retain and the collected and calculated metric data for the monitored objects. And the last one, it is the deletion schedule interval. It determines the frequency to schedule deletion of resources. You can see the default values are here. Now, these were the data retention settings. Now comes the settings other than this. These settings are the ones which include settings such as session timeout, which basically means is if your connection to vROps Operations Manager is idle for the specified amount of time, then you're logged out of the application automatically and will have to provide credentials to log back in. And it is 30 minutes by default. Now these are some settings which can be enabled or disabled, like dynamic threshold calculation. If not enabled, then the values which are depend on it will not work, like anomalies badge or symptom definitions which depend on dynamic threshold will not work. Likewise, in capacity calculation, if it is disabled, the values such as capacity remaining, time remaining, stress reclaimable capacity are not calculated. Now the next one is customer experience improvement program. You can opt for this program where vROps sends anonymous usage data to vmware.com. And likewise, we can enable disable automated actions which are used in alert remediation and workload placement and set it as short term or long term, depending on if it uses short term of workload data or a longer period data to determine placement decisions when need to balance cluster or data center. Then there is currency, which specifies the currency unit that will be used for cost calculations. And this one can be set once only, so make sure you select according to the needs of your environment properly. So all these were the global settings in vROps. Now let us look at licensing. We use licenses to activate vROps Manager for it to be able to monitor. We add licenses at the time of installation of vROps or after its installation has been completed. The question that comes is, why do we need to keep track of these licenses? Well, it is to know that when the license will expire and so that we can renew it before it expires to keep vROps monitoring highly available. But there are other few things which become handy as we keep track of the license keys. Like we are able to know which resources can the license monitor, and we get all the information related to the particular license key, like product or solution for which it is for, its expiry, its capacity, which tells how many objects can it monitor, and its type and usage as well. I will tell about these about when we look at licensing in the console. But before that, let me tell you a few things that are useful to know about licensing. First, let's look at different licensing metrics and how they help us determine the count of objects to monitor. First type is a license could be bought per CPU based. So the count of objects is like we can have unlimited VMs, but we are only concerned about the number of processors in our environment. Second is per OSI based. OSI is operating system instance, and an OSI can be any object which has an IP address and can be monitored. One thing to note here is that powered off VMs don't come under it. Now we have another licensing metric called Portable License Unit or PLU, which came out for vRealize Suite and vCloud Suite 7.0. Now it is called portable as it allows you the flexibility to use the same vRealize Suite license type to manage workloads in a vSphere environment or in a non-vSphere environment as well, such as any VMware supported public cloud, for example, AWS, vCloud Air, or third party hypervisor and physical servers. Specifically, one PLU allows vRealize Suite to manage unlimited virtual machines deployed on one on premises vSphere CPU or up to 15 OSI deployed in any non vSphere environment mentioned above, but not both at the same time. A PLU based license is mainly useful if in future your needs change and you need to change your environment. Then, irrespective of where the workloads reside, the same license type can be used to manage them. Now comes the type of licensing editions that are available to us: standard, enterprise, and advanced. The vRealize Operations Manager standard license unlocks the core monitoring and analytics platform. The focus of the standard edition is on vSphere and its components within the environment. This edition includes out of the box dashboards and reports, what if scenarios, and guided remediation. This edition also allows a user to set policies and create alerts with the custom recommendations for remediation. This version is included in vSphere with operations management and can be licensed standalone also per OSI based. The advanced edition builds upon the deep analytics of the vSphere environment and adds in many features focused on customization and extensibility. This edition allows administrators to create customized dashboards and reports and to import third party management packs. These management packs extend vRealize compatibility to storage, networking devices, and even multiple clouds. Finally, vRealize Operations Manager Advanced introduces the Endpoint Operations Agent, allowing for the monitoring of operating system resources from within the virtual or physical machine. This version of vRealize operations can be licensed per processor or per OSI as well. vRealize Operations Manager Enterprise extends the reach of the Endpoint Operations Agent into applications installed inside the operating system. Data can be collected from databases and applications such as Microsoft SQL and Apache Tomcat. Enterprise Edition is only licensed per OSI. Now look at the arrow below, which is denoting the level of the license editions, which tells that standard is the lowest and enterprise the highest level, and higher the level, more objects it can monitor. Another thing to note here is the licenses can be mixed per OSI and per CPU based, and advanced and enterprise versions. This is helpful if you want to license the majority of your environment as advanced, but need to use Enterprise Edition on the smaller subset of database and critical application servers. The only restriction we have here is that everything being managed must have a valid license. With this comes the concept of license group. In vROps, we can group the objects in different license groups, which define that the objects that are part of the same license group are monitored by the same license key. So we can put the objects that we want to monitor using advanced license in one group and the critical application objects that we wanted to monitor using enterprise license can be grouped into a different license group, which makes it pretty convenient. So you can say we create a vROps manager license group as a way of gathering objects for data collection under a particular license key. You can select one or more license keys that you already have added for a solution or product activation and add resource objects as members to a custom group for those licenses. For example, we could add the licenses of a same level of key in the same group. Thus, we have the following ways by which we can configure a license group and add objects to the group. You can set always include condition for a specific criteria like VMs that contain some string. And second, we can choose to explicitly include or exclude specific host or VMs in the group. Now let's take a look at the vROps console and what all options we have for licensing. Right now we are in the home page. Let's go to administration, select management. Here you will see we have global settings as well as licensing. Select licensing. We have the options license keys and license groups. Under the license keys, you will see your evaluation license, or if you have already assigned a license, then that will be displayed here. To add a new license, click on green plus icon, choose the product from the drop down, and enter the license key that you have and validate. Once you click on the validate, you will see information about the license and then click save to assign license. Currently, I don't have a new license key while I'm making this video. I can show you this later. Now, cancel it for right now. Now, going over to the license group, we have two groups by default. This is unlicensed group and product licensing. Below, we have overview and members of the selected license group. We have the license group name. Total members are the number of resource objects in the group. A licensable usage. We have the number of resource objects in the group that count against the license in order to monitor them. If you have a license for unlimited object monitoring, this number is 0. We have license group information below. We have overview. Here we have again total members and licensable usage, name of the product or solution, its serial number, and the number of keys associated with the license group. In the members, we have a list of resource objects associated with the selected license group. You can add a license group, a new one. You can give it a name. Let's call it test. Select the any number of license keys. You can select more than one license key to add in the group. Currently we have just one. Let's try selecting this. Then we do next. Our first is we define a membership criteria. It can be it can be for virtual machines or any type of object. We select the object type and then the criteria type. It will be on metrics, relationship properties, or object name. We select contains, do not contains, is means the object name should exactly match with the string that we give. Let's select contains and let's select over here VM and then add criteria. We can add more and we can give a more than one criteria here. Here we can give the objects that we always want to include in this group. We can select from environment, from vSphere word, add or remove the objects. Then we have always exclude. Say on a cluster that you have critical VMs, you also have some test VMs and you don't want to evaluate those. Then you can select to always exclude those test VMs. So we have that flexibility. Let's select one or two. We have given a criteria, so that will be all. We go to next and then we'll preview. We have the group's name, the license key that is part of this group. We have the membership criteria and always to include and always to exclude. Since we have n selected any, then that's why it's showing none. And then we finish. Here we have our new license group, and as it seems we have only 3 VMs that contain the name VM. Now let's go back to the license keys. Below is the information related to the selected license key. Let me zoom out a little. Here we have this information. We have the solution name, its expiry, its capacity, its type. I've already told you about the types and its usage. And here you can see that to how many license groups this license key has been assigned. Here you can refresh if you have made any changes. Here also you have all this information. You have license type, license capacity, its usage, its status. Here it's showing that it's going to expire in 43 days. And you have two more. It's giving the date of when it will expire. And it's showing that only power of VMs will count towards the license usage. So that is all about licensing and global settings. Here we have global settings. And there's not much. I have shown you all about it. Here is the added button where you can edit the settings and edit the value. So that will be all. Thank you for making till the end of this video. I hope you were able to understand it. That's all. Bye.